Welcome to the Beginner's Guide to Galleon,
Prepare to witness the might of Galleon the Gold,
where you'll learn exactly what you need to start your journey with her and grasp a solid understanding of how Galleon wants to play. Galleon is a set-play grappler who excels at making the opponent scared of pressing due to her ability to keep her turn, which then conditions them to fall victim to her command grabs. She also has an extremely unique way of controlling neutral with her staff and meteors, getting into the opponent's head. My name is Wonubi, and now that I've hit Masters on Galleon, it's time to teach you everything I currently know, so that by the end of this video, you'll know Galleon's fundamental game plan, combos, how to play offense, and much, much more. The video will be timestamped throughout for your convenience, and I'll put a link to the FGC glossary in the description in case any terms don't make sense to you. Please enjoy.
And pickles and pickle and mustard!
So Galleon's general game plan consists of patient neutral, where you look for your opponent's openings, whether it's spacing people out with her good pokes, keeping people blocking with her staff and meteors, threatening command grab once they start to respect you, and anti-airing once the opponent gets scared of your potential grabs or your meteors in neutral. Her best damage comes from setting up the meteors and getting hits with them, even confirming into them through buttons, or through her command grab. All of these different things work together to make Galleon click as a character. As for whether or not she's for you, if you enjoy patient yet rewarding gameplay where once you enforce your offense, the opponent is playing your game, Galleon is definitely your character. Some of her weaknesses are that her typical gameplay leaves her open to being rushed down in neutral or even spaced out, which can be difficult to prevent because she has to set up her meteors, which takes time, and the long-range staff slam can take a while to come out. This, on top of being naturally slow and having a stubby dash light, leaves you having to be very careful with how you approach. She also doesn't have the greatest damage without meteors set up, and she doesn't have a meterless reversal. She has to spend 50 meter for her DP. As you can see, like, the range on it isn't even good either. Her strengths definitely lie in plus frames, forcing the opponent to block, opening them back up again with her command grabs, having an extremely scary corner situation, and incredible damage once she has meteors ready. She even has one of the best backdashes in the entire game. I also want to add the fact that Galleon is unique because there's going to be countless developments in her setup game over time, as she has lots of depth. So she's a rewarding character to pick up for the long haul.
People ask me how I do it.
I just bite off more than I can chew.
So Galleon has some extremely important buttons for playing the neutral. The first of which is, of course, 6XL. As a quick forward advancing plus on block button, her 6XL is, of course, one of her most useful and strong tools in general. It's also a really nice contrast since her dash speed is so slow. 6XL is a great way to enforce and take your turn, but do please be careful as it doesn't travel that far compared to other characters. This doesn't take away from how good and important the button actually is, though. Far Heavy is one of Galleon's absolute best long-range pokes and hit confirm tools. It has really incredible range, which comes in handy a lot since you end up sometimes having to play keep out with her. And of course, it can crush weaker normals. It's also super unique in the hit confirm department when it comes to her long-range pokes. Since Galleon lacks great mid-screen hit confirms without meteors ready, 5H is even more of an amazing button, as it's the only poke that can combo into ultimate meteor without needing some sort of help, like a counter hit. As you can see, with mediums, I need a counter hit, but with Far Heavy, I do not. Other than that, the normal is a bit slow, but it is even on block, which is incredibly unique for a Far Heavy, meaning you can still try to take your turn back since you and your opponent can act at the same time at +0. Far Medium is basically just a fast poke with incredible range. Down Medium, 2M, is basically just a fast poke, but this time hitting low and not going very far. Jumping Unique is notable for being Galleon's cross-up option off a jump-in, so it'll hit the opponent even if your jump goes to the other side. And 2H is, of course, Galleon's anti-air button that catches jump-ins. 5U is Galleon's Staff Slam, and it is one of her most important buttons, period, because it interacts with other parts of her kit and just does so much stuff. 5U is actually a low and has great range, which becomes full screen if you hold it down. Be careful holding it down though, as it can last a really long time and allow the opponent to jump in on you. 5U is also how you call down the meteors once you have the markers out. To peek into offense a little bit, this button on Counterhit allows her to combo into 6-6H, which is super useful giving her fat mid-screen damage. It's also seriously easy to hit confirm after because you have so much time, meaning you really can just pause and look to see if you got a counter hit or not. I also do want to mention that you can choose which side you end up on during her 6xh, which is basically a combo tool. I would try not to use it neutral since you're very punishable, as you can see, even on block.
If you're gonna
Now, before we break down Galleon's special moves, as a quick simplified overview, she has a marker that prepares her meteors, she has a command grab, an anti-air grab, and a plus frame / combo tool. All of these special moves have light, medium, heavy, and ultimate versions. Light and medium versions have virtually no cooldown, while heavy versions have long cooldowns, and ultimate versions have somewhat fast cooldowns and use 50% of your meter. The first special move we're going to talk about is called Meteorite, but it's honestly pretty weird since it just places a marker that lets you call down a meteorite if you press 5U, so I'm just going to call it marker. The basic premise of these markers is to place them down either in neutral or after using special moves, and all versions, of course, track to the opponent's location. There's 4 levels equating to how big the markers are and how much damage the subsequent meteors do. The meteors called from this don't hit overhead, if you were curious, by the way. When it says high, that just means mid. Like, for some reason in this game, overhead is high in the hit properties. Don't worry about it. The light version summons down a level 1 marker, being of course the smallest, and you can continually use the light version to add 1 level up to the marker. So if you use this 4 times, you have a maxed out size at level 4. Another cool piece of tech is using the light version as a way to reposition any marker back to your opponent without losing your cooldown. The medium version summons a maximum size level 4 marker, but takes longer to recover from an act after. The heavy version summons a level 3 marker, and she recovers as quick from it as the light version. The ultimate version just says screw all of that and summons a meteorite itself even if you don't have a marker out. However, if you do have a marker out, it'll increase the level by 1. It's a great tool for keeping your turn, as it's plus 11 on block. It's also a fantastic tool for hit confirming your far heavy into, as covered in the buttons section. Galleon's command grab series is called Primordial Grasp. The light, medium, and heavy versions all start up at 21 frames. Usually people say anything above 20 frames is a reactable, but in my personal experience it is reactable, but you have to be pretty locked in and focused to react. Of course, there's gonna be plenty of people just trying to jump it and not even trying to react anyways. But basically it's not that simple, and you'll want to see how your opponent interacts with your command grabs. What's cool is if you have a meteor marker out and hit any command grab, the meteor will combo into your command grab if it's on them for more damage. The light version does the least damage at 2800, but leaves the opponent closer for a great knockdown situation. A cute little piece of tech I want to share here to peek into offense is that light command grab is such a great tool depending on the opponent. You get this pseudo infinite by doing a little bit of a run up and then doing the light command grab again, or you can stop that and just go for a 6XL. This can really screw with people who aren't able to properly defend against your command grabs. And I've literally taken like 75% of players' health bars doing this. The medium version does more damage at 3200, but leaves the opponent further away. As compensation, you get time to set up light and heavy meteor markers and still be plus. The heavy version does 3200 damage as well, leaving the opponent fairly far away, and giving Galleon time to set up all her meteor markers while still being plus after. But as you can see, it's honestly a little hard to get the medium one to be plus. But there you go. You honestly want to save this version for the corner, because if comboed into a meteor marker, you get to combo after for huge damage. The ultimate version of her command grab is honestly loaded. It has a 12 frame unreactable startup, increased range, I mean look how far I can do this from, and incredible damage at 3600. It gives her a safe jump, does huge mid-screen damage, and corner damage when you combo after a meteor. This is just easily one of her best tools. All versions of her grab also can be chained into, so let's say I do an Autocombo blockstring into command grab. It still hits, as you can see. This is another just super strong aspect of her, but the ultimate version, when chained into like this, does less damage. But the light, medium, heavy versions don't do less damage when chained into. You can circumvent the damage loss from chaining into the ultimate grab by staggering or just delaying your grab a bit. Galleon's anti-air grab series is called Bedrock Blast. It basically just flies into the air and grabs the opponent if they're in the air too. This can be used as an anti-air tool, or even as a combo tool. I find as long as you're using the correct version for the correct angle, this can like really you can really scoop people up when it doesn't look like you should. The light version does the least damage and travels neither high or far. The medium version does more damage and travels pretty far. The heavy version does the most damage and travels pretty high, but not very far. And as you saw, if the grab doesn't hit, a boulder gets summoned at peak height that travels down, leaving Galleon plus if blocked, meaning she can take her turn. She also has enough time to set up a light or heavy marker afterwards and be plus. The ultimate version is her DP, or Invincible Reversal. It's the Get Off Me tool. As is standard, you'll be fully punishable if this move is blocked. Her DP is honestly not good because, like, the first part doesn't really go anywhere. You can see the range is, like, pretty poor. So they have to be kind of, like, right on top of you for it to work. But it's obviously super important regardless. Next up is Galleon's combo tool and plus frame generator, Will of the Earth. It's pretty different depending on which version is used. The light version is a great combo ender, and she has time to set up a light or heavy marker after being +1. It's just a little bit hard to time. It's also a great block string ender that leaves her -2, so safe on block. The medium version has a long startup, but sucks the opponent in, leaving her +4 if blocked. You can even combo into her anti-air throws if it hits. If it hits Counterhit, you can convert with a big fat 6/6H combo. The heavy version is a quick way to grab plus frames, leaving her +4 if blocked. It also goes really far. It's also a fantastic combo tool and your go-to for converting hits in the corner whenever you don't have a meteor up. The ultimate version is also a big fat dragon arm, but it is -4 if blocked. It's mainly a combo tool and has some really important applications, like giving her a mid-screen conversion with great corner carry. That's, of course, if she's close enough for it to work. If it hits a grounded opponent, it'll crumple them. But if it hits someone in the air, it'll wall bounce. Lastly, for Galleon's special moves is her dive grab, Muddy Embrace. I'll spare some of the details here, since it's a pretty knowledge check heavy move that won't work the more familiar your opponent is with it. When you use the skill button in the air, your command grab cooldown is used towards this dive grab that only hits on standing opponents or airborne opponents. It does do a pretty fair amount of damage, but sometimes the tracking can just absolutely suck. And if your opponent crouches and it whiffs, you're unbelievably negative. -72. It of course has its different light, medium, heavy, and ultimate versions that vary in damage and angles. I try to only use this move if you test your opponent and realize they aren't responding well to it. It can be decent as a random instant jump into the move kind of option, or if you find a good window to punish a projectile. Now to quickly cover her supers, she has 3 of them. SBAs are supers that you have access to with full meter, while SSBAs are a super you only get access to with full meter and low health. For now, I just have them all activated regardless, just to show you. Her SBA is an invincible on startup command grab with great range, but don't worry, you can still combo into it. Although it is jumpable after the super flash, so no bubs or avatar belly'll cheese here. Her SSBA is also an invincible on startup command grab with great range that's comboable and jumpable after super flash. But specifically, this SSBA does a ridiculous amount of damage. It's insane. She also has another SBA, which is the back input plus super, and it'll spawn this forward moving projectile, which can be great for space control. Once it makes contact, it explodes into this tornado that makes Galleon very advantageous and is even comboable after. There's also some pretty nasty tech a player called Nothing did to me, where if you think the opponent is going to use Brave Counter, so let's say I do a light, and I think they're going to BC, so I pop the super, they straight up get punished and get hit, which is insane, and obviously I could have comboed there. While there is less risk to doing this because the super is plus on block, it's still fully punishable if rolled.
Have you ever played blockstrings with your life on the line or having a bunch of mangoes in your mouth?
Now when it comes to conversions, I want to cover the essential ways you end up converting hits on Galleon. If you hit a 6XL your dash light up close, you can convert into medium auto combo, and if you hit one from further away, you have to go into far light. For meterless mid-screen conversions, you'll usually go into 5U, which is the staff slam. So let's say I get a random poke, I can go into 5U and even follow that up with a light anti-air grab. If you do an auto combo into 5U though, you can actually just do a jump in and get a safe jump, which put very simply is when conditions align for you to be safe to reversals even though you're pressing a button during a jump in, as long as you're blocking, of course. If you have markers out though, you can actually do your poke into 5U and the meteor will come down, allowing you to get bigger combos with her 6XH. What's cool is if a meteor hits raw, as long as you're in range for 6XH, you can convert. If your staff slam 5U itself hits, you gotta go into light anti-air grab, but if it hits counter hit, you can actually go into 6XH. Other important conversions are, of course, Heavy Will of the Earth, which is basically just the Heavy Dragon Arm, which helps you start some corner combos. And with Meter, you get really nice mid-screen conversions off Auto Combo into Ultimate Dragon Arm. And if you do a 2H or a 5H, you can convert into Ultimate Meteor. The final super important conversion would be comboing off Ultimate or Heavy Command Grab in the corner if you have a Meteor marker out for lots of damage. And I personally find mashing out 2M to be pretty consistent here. Also, remember you can combo off Ultimate Command Grab into Meteor mid-screen. In terms of offense, we've given you some peeks into it, but let's fully go over it. I'm going to separate offense into different sections so it'll make a lot more sense. First, let's start off with the simple overview of offense. It's basically going to look like using your plus frames like Medium or Heavy, Will of the Earth, or Ultimate Meteor, or even stringing into the Staff Slam, and calling down your Meteors. You're going to want to keep pressure tight and stop them from mashing on you. And then once you've established that respect, you can start throwing out those command grabs and begin the mind games. Don't forget you can chain blocks normals into your light, medium, and heavy command grabs without damage penalty. Your plus on block special moves like heavy or medium Will of the Earth allow you to immediately use ultimate command grab without any damage penalty after. You might be wondering what keeping pressure tight actually means. Well, it means doing frame traps, where it's your turn because you're plus, and if your opponent presses on you, they'll get hit. We'll go over some really important ones for Galleon. A typical frame trap for characters in this game looks like 5L into 5H. But Galleon's 5H is actually a bit slower than usual, so she gets hit. You could take this information and think, okay, I'll just use 5M, and that'll actually work. This is true, but I'd actually recommend going into 5L as your frame trap instead, because you get to keep your turn, since of course 5L is plus on block. There's also other reasons like close 5M being punishable, so you'd have to continue with your auto combo or cancel into a special. But all you need to know is that we want to frame trap with lights. So here are some important ones. 5L into 5L, which you just have to do a slight delay before the second one and you catch anyone mashing. 6XL into Farlight, medium Will of the Earth into 5L, heavy Will of the Earth into 5L, and another super important one is canceling your pokes into 5U, the Staff Slam. And you already know how good it is to get this as a counter hit. Another super important aspect of offense are block strings. Galleon wants to string attacks that continually frame trap, so you either keep the opponent blocking or hit them for mashing. We don't have to go super in-depth here, but here's an example of what things should be looking like. So we can do 6XL, 5L, Heavy Will of the Earth, 5L, and then 5U, the Staff Slam. You can even keep on going if you have a Meteor marker out on them already. You can see this block string is tight, so if the opponent presses, they're gonna get hit. What's cool is you start to see Galleon's game plan because this string is meant to keep them blocking, right? But if you wanted to, at multiple points, you could just use a grab instead and punish them for blocking. I'd also like to add that ending block strings with 5U, her Staff Slam, is super strong because it hits low and gives you a fat combo on Counterhit. It even spaces her out pretty nicely. Finally, we've just got to cover some common safe jumps, which is basically just when the conditions are met, so that if you do a jump in while blocking, then the opponent does a reversal, you'll block the reversal, meaning you can get a huge punish on the opponent. First, we have Autocombo into 5U into Safe Jump Heavy. Next is SBA, and you get a Super Jump as your Safe Jump mid-screen. In the corner, you just get a regular old forward jump, so you can literally just hold forward this entire time. For SSBA, in the corner and mid-screen, you get a super jump as your safe jump. Next, off a back throw, you get a super jump. And if you're getting hit, it's because you're mistiming these, which can happen. Then after ultimate command grab, I use this shit so much, you also get a super jump. Now, in terms of combos and setups, I decided to put this section together because, of course, when you hit a combo, it leads into Meteor setups. We covered some of the ways that you can be plus after special moves and get out a Meteor marker when going over Galleon's abilities, but now we can show you some super practical examples. A lot of these combos are going to be very similar to help you start off on Galleon, so do not feel overwhelmed. You'll start to understand what Galleon's combos and setups are like, and then over time, you can get more optimal. First, I want to give a setup that basically carried me to master and will help you guys a ton while you're learning her. It's basically just any auto combo into heavy Will of the Earth, then medium auto combo into heavy anti-air command grab. Then once you land, use heavy markers, and now you're plus with a bajillion options. You can staff slam to hit them low and call them out and get a meteor. You can keep pressuring with 6XL. You can run in for a heavier ultimate command grab, which you can then combo off of for huge damage. Bitch. There's genuinely just so many good options here. If you want, you can even end this combo in just straight up super. Or, to be a little more optimal, you can do Brave Point, 5H, and then super. So it's possible that sometimes you're not going to be close enough to get an auto combo, so in that case, this is what you can do. And then you still get your setup with H marker. Now the next combo is your mid-screen combo without any meter. So, of course, we do our auto combo, 5U, and then we get our safe jump. If we get a poke, we can do poke into the 5U stab slam into light anti-air throw. Light pokes don't work, by the way, unless it's counter hit. And you're basically going to be far enough to do any marker and still be fine. And even medium is fine too if you're okay with it and you know you're not going to get rushed down instantly in a certain matchup. Next is your mid-screen meter combo that obviously has a bunch of corner carry. And since you're doing the heavy anti-air grab, you get light or heavy marker after while being plus. Next up is counter hit staff slam or 5U. And then you get light or heavy marker while being still plus. Next up is the anti-air combo, which also works if you just do a 5H poke. As you can see, it's still very similar to the other combos, and we still get light or heavy marker. Next up is the Raging Strike combo. So you can do any hit, Raging Strike, Raging Chain, medium, 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 heavy anti-air throw, and then heavy marker or light marker. Almost done here. So next is a corner combo where if you do ultimate or heavy grab while you already have a meteor marker out in the corner, you get insane damage. Of course, I can just set back up again. It is slightly different though if you do the heavy version of the grab as your follow-up, as you get an auto combo here now. Now the final combo works mid-screen and in the corner, and it's when you have a meteor out and you hit it raw. Hit it back from the bat raw. Sorry, bro. And you can set up. You can set up. Okay, so that's all I've got. So hopefully now you have a solid base understanding of how Galleon works, and still got some in-depth stuff to sink your teeth into. Genuinely thank you though if you actually watched the video, and please let me know if it helped you in the comments, as it makes me super happy to actually be able to hear how you guys succeed. That's the beginner's guide to Galleon though, so much love, enjoy playing some Galleon, and peace.